Rights Act died yesterday at the hands of 50 Republican senators and 2 who call themselves Democrats. Robert Reich tweeted, and just solidly nails it. He says, "There's something terribly wrong with the system that allows 41 Senate Republicans, representing 21% of the country, to block voting rights legislation supported by nearly 70% of Americans. It really, truly doesn't have to be this way." So they asked Mitch McConnell about this. In fact, this reporter, Pablo Manriquez, asked McConnell what his message was for voters of color who are concerned about their voting rights. And this is what Mitch McConnell, the Senate minority leader, the head of the Republicans in the United States Senate, who were united against voting rights, he said, well, Mitch McTurtle, well, the concern is misplaced, because if we look at the statistics, African-American voters are voting in just as high a percentage as Americans. Oh, really? So African-Americans are not Americans? Really? They're like a separate thing? He goes on to say, a recent survey, 94% of Americans thought it was easy to vote. This is not a problem. Turnout is up. Biggest turnout since 1900. They're being sold a bill of goods to support a Democratic effort to federalize elections. I think when you have individual states, like we were talking yesterday about Lincoln County, Georgia, under this new Georgia law, shutting an entire county, and a large county, a physically large county, shutting down 6 of its 7 voting locations. A county that is about a third black, and the only voting location that is going to be left is in the predominantly white part of the whole county. When you look at a situation like that, it's like, well, Mitch McConnell's not misspeaking. He's not accidentally saying that African Americans are not Americans. He genuinely, he's a son of the South. There's old pictures of him with the Confederate dead enders and the Confederate flag and stuff. This is who he is and where he came from. Brian Behar wrote on Twitter, he said, McConnell did not misspeak. In one quote, he summarized the entire GOP worldview. They think it's a white nation, and anyone who isn't white isn't a true American. And this is the primary meme that is animating the Republican Party right now. It used to be a slice of the Republican Party. It used to be an extra piece that they would use to win elections. This is what started in 1964, when they started yelling about election fraud and put together Operation Eagle Eye. I shared that with you yesterday and wrote about it in yesterday's HartmannReport.com. So it started really in 64 in that way. And then in 68, it went up a whole nother level with Richard Nixon's Southern strategy, where he was explicitly reaching out, in particular to the South, to the white racists who were at that point abandoned by the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party had said, in 64, 65 with the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, we believe in a multiracial democracy. And the Republicans were like, oh no, we don't. Not going to happen. White supremacy forever. That was Richard Nixon's message. He shrouded it in dog whistle language about crime and law and order, as did Reagan after him. And states' rights. Reagan gave a states' rights speech down in Mississippi, right down the road from where the 3 civil rights workers, Schwermer, Goodman, and Cheney, were murdered. It's really mind-boggling, when you think about it. That white supremacy has been part of the Republican agenda since 1964 explicitly. And arguing that non-white people voting is voter fraud has been part of the Republican Party's strategy literally since 1964. And yesterday we couldn't put a stop to that. They're going to continue doing it as the Voting Rights Act dies. I suspect that Kyrsten Sinema, who was wearing bright Republican red yesterday for her vote, is probably going to switch parties. The question is when and how much damage will it do to the Biden presidency. Joe Manchin, I don't think he cares one way or the other. He's enjoying being, kind of substitute president. Although if she switches parties, it'll change his power. But at a certain point, it's time to leave them behind. Manchin and Sinema are, okay, so they're boulders in the river, but they're not stopping the river. America is becoming more diverse. America is waking up to the fact that we almost had a fascist takeover of our government. We're going to see more of that in the coming weeks as the January 6th committee starts holding public hearings. America is waking up to the fact that these white guys running around with guns and bizarre outfits are not actually patriots, that they represent what America fought against in World War II. America is waking up to the fact that the things that we have been wanting, we have not been getting, even though a majority of us want them. I mean, it used to be in American politics, by and large, with the single conspicuous, obviously, exception of black voting rights, which we actually put into law in 64 and 65, but it's hard to say setting that aside, but generally speaking, it used to be in American politics that when Americans wanted something, yes, let's put a man on the moon. We put a man on the moon. When Americans wanted Medicare, we got Medicare. When they wanted Social Security strengthened, we strengthened Social Security. When they wanted voting rights, we got voting rights. When we wanted somebody to protect the environment, Rachel Carlson publishes the book Silent Spring, and suddenly we've got the Environmental Protection Agency. When it looked like our elections were getting corrupted in 1974, we got the Federal Election Commission, and a whole bunch of rules and regulations about that. Of course, the Supreme Court blew all that up, which was the point of my opening rant today. They changed the rules of democracy in America. But that notwithstanding, America is becoming more progressive. America is becoming more awake. And yeah, I know Republicans like to go, oh, did he just say he's woke? Yeah. We're waking up to your game here, Republicans. Americans are figuring out that they've been had. I mean, there's only so long that you can keep throwing country music and NASCAR and flags at people with the one hand, while you're taking away their ability to unionize, while you're cutting taxes on billionaires and sticking them with the bill, while you're continuing to pollute the environment and destroy their homes through climate change mediated wild weather. There's only so long you can get away with this. And it's starting to break down. And we now have a president of the United States who's calling them out. What do the Republicans stand for? Other than white supremacy. Like I said, it started out as a slice of the Republican electorate, because not everybody wants to vote for tax cuts for billionaires or deregulation of pollution. So they had to bring in the white supremacists. Now it's all they've got. I mean, they still have their billionaires and their corporations, but they're not even pushing these lies. They're no longer trying to say, hey, trickle-down economics is going to benefit everybody if we give the job creators, less. If we have less taxes on the job creators, they're going to raise your wages. Well, America bought that BS for about 30 years since Ronnie Reagan started selling it in 1981. We don't buy it anymore. When Reagan told us, and George W. Bush, for that matter, with his Clean Skies Initiative and a Healthy Forest Initiative that allowed more pollution and clear-cutting trees. For a while we were like, oh, clear skies, healthy forests, that sounds right. And now we figured out that it was a scam. The Republican Party has been running a scam all these years. And they've just given up on even trying anymore. They're no longer saying, oh, yeah, we're the party that's going to help the average working guy. No, they're not even bothering. They are about white supremacy, white power, and they are making a bet. The Donald Trump bet that naked white racism and white supremacy is going to draw in enough white people that they can continue to win elections. And in some states, it's going to work. But will it work across the entire country? Will it work in the states that matter in the election that's coming up, particularly with regard to the Senate? I don't think so. I think it's starting to break down. I am very concerned. I mean, I wrote a book about this, you know, The Hidden History of American Oligarchy, about how they are trying to, you know, the oligarchs are trying to take over and destroy democracy in America. No doubt about it.